Lovely to see you. Not seen you for ages.
No, yeah, it's been a while.
Um, I believe everything is passed and you're all good now. You've got through all the process now. Daniel, how's it feel?
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, it was obviously, as you know, I failed in my first interview because I went in just not even knowing what they wanted, let alone how
Mhm.
to present information. So obviously walking in, I mean, I was still incredibly nervous. So strange because I've done so many interviews and so many big interviews, but there's something about that one that's it's a little bit special, isn't it? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I just felt like I'd walked in a lot more, a lot more knowledgeable. I'd got obviously my examples in the back of my head, but I think more importantly, I felt like I knew where they were going. You know, what they're after and the kind of things that I needed to present. And obviously, I feel like I got a huge amount out of the webinars. I actually missed them a little bit in a weird way. I quite enjoyed. I don't know. They're good sort of thought exercises, aren't they? I quite enjoyed
Mm.
the process of picking things apart and that deep analysis. I don't know. It just suits my personality, I suppose. I
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
I really enjoyed them. So yeah, so second time round, I think I said this to Raj. You asked me a question when I first joined. You said if you were going to do the same interview tomorrow, you know, how confident would you feel? And I said something silly like 3 out of 10 because that was the truth. I'd come away. I knew I'd done so badly, but it
Mhm.
wasn't like even if I knew all the questions and I could go in again, I don't think I would have done any better. And when they gave me the date, I was quite nervous, and they did give me much notice. I only had a couple of weeks' notice, so I was like, "Oh wow!" I thought I'd have longer. You know, I wasn't quite ready. And then I sat and I thought, no, actually, if the interview's like the first one, I I know what I'm doing now. And that was the moment where I thought, yeah, I feel like now I know what I've gotten out of the process, out of working with Raj and the webinars, and I've got my nice collection of sort of good examples. And I knew now that some of the original examples that I'd picked were actually terrible and not even a little bit like what they were looking for.
Yeah.
And that was quite funny looking back because I'm a stickler for notes. And when I prepared for the interview, I grabbed the original sheet of notes and I'm looking at it going, oh, what were you thinking? You know, why were you trying to talk to them about that? And you know, the things I've done and said, and I just thought, yeah, that was never, know a little bit more about the process and how they score. You just think, oh, that was never going to work. So no,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was still nerve wracking. They threw me a few curveballs, a couple of questions I didn't quite expect, but obviously I passed, so I must have said the right things to them.
Great. Awesome. Well, there's something there about to what extent then would you feel as though we help prepare you for those sort of eventualities, those sort of curveballs that you got? Because we can't predict every question, can we?
No, I think 100% because what you'd what you taught me, and I'll pick a particular example, is especially around public service, which is
Hmm.
as stupid as it sounds. When I first went into my first interview and I'm started preparing, because I did prepare for the first interview. I don't want you to think I just kind of walked up and tried to flag it, but I think I was really focused on that public bit of the public service. I was always trying to think of things I've done in public or with the
Yeah.
public. And I realized that actually I spend all day every day dealing with customers, dealing with people. They're not the general public. And I think I actually said that verbatim to the interview. They asked me a question about public service, and I said, at the end of the day, everyone's got a public. I said, I have a public to deal with, and I really enjoy dealing with them. And I talked about, how I get so much out of that. But and that's an answer I would have never even contemplated. That question I would never have spoken about work before
Mm.
because I don't deal with the general public. I deal with a public, and I get that now,
Yeah.
and I get what they were looking
Mm.
for. They're looking for that how you deal with people. So yeah, I
Awesome.
think that's really the
Yeah.
main example there. But yeah, a huge amount. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely tremendous help.
Brilliant. So, because a lot of people think, like actually on one of the webinars, the free webinars I run for the Facebook group, ran it last night, and I asked a question about values of one of the people who attended. So, what sort of values do you think are important to the police? And he was trying to recite what was in the competency and values framework, and he said, "Oh, there's 9 principles in the code of ethics, or is it 10? Oh, I can't remember them all." No, that's not what they're looking for. What they were looking for it, and I sort of directed him a bit, and he said, "Okay, integrity. All right, great. So tell me all about integrity and what it means to you." And he just, on his own admission, he just waffled on. He started off okay. The first 2 sentences were okay, but then he just waffled on. and then he started talking about the end of the world. You know, if police officers don't have integrity, it'd be the end of the world. And I was thinking, he's just one step away from talking about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse now. And it's because he didn't know how to associate integrity with what they were looking for. And so he just went on into the waffle zone. So I think that's what you were saying there, that, you know, once you've got an idea of the sort of questions that are going to get asked and the sort of knowledge and understanding you need to have, you can pretty much field any question. And that's what we focus on, is getting you to the point where if they do ask you a few curveballs, you can just sit back and go, all right, yeah, I can answer that one. And it sounds like we did our job there.
I see that. And I know you've said in your course and on the webinars, 'cause I did watch your course as well, by the way, but actually I think it's the webinars that I got the most from.
Yeah.
You said repeatedly, you can't just go and like try and pick an integrity example and pick an example for this and pick an example for that. And actually that did, but I know we'll probably talk about the questions a little bit, but that did come up because they gave me a handbook of questions, and I had to, you know, each time it was a question, I had to turn it over, and it was quite a nice idea actually. But one of the questions, it was, I forget, I think it was headed integrity, but actually the question wasn't really in the format of what I would class as integrity. Does that make sense? It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite how we. So actually, I didn't answer it like an integrity question. To my mind, I answered it the question that was being asked. You know, I had to kind of quite distinctly. And to be honest, once I'd started, I actually had a moment where I clarified it with them. I said, I'm not sure I'm going the right direction in this, because I feel like the heading doesn't entirely match the goal of the question. But ultimately, they're asking the question, that's what they want answered. We can talk about that in a minute. I did take some notes, but yeah, that just sort of slightly caught me out. But again, it was that ability to just focus on the example and focus on getting the best from it.
And just, you know, quite simply, it's one of my 5 rules. You know, just answer this is the 5th one. Just answer the question. You know, structure, detail, authenticity, emotional connect. Answer the question. Just answer it. Yeah, so that's a good example, actually, because some people will be like, oh, the question's about integrity. The question will be this. The subject matter is integrity, and they'll go and deliver something that they've pre-prepared around integrity, and they're not actually answering the question.
Yeah, and I think if I'd have given the question, because obviously you do come up with examples and you have it in the back of your mind, you go, yeah, it's a really good example of integrity. I don't think mine would have been suitable for that. And as you say, it just wouldn't have answered the question. And immediately, it can be the best thing in the world, but if it's not answering the question, you've not answered the question, have you? So yeah.
The amount of times on webinars where you would have experienced Raj or any of the others or myself in some of the recordings saying something like, that's a wonderful answer, that, but not to the question I asked.
Well, we asked, yeah.
Yeah, great answer to that question, but not to the one I asked. So yeah, that's why that's my 5th key thing. You've got to get that one right. Awesome, that's great. Great to hear, Daniel. It's great to hear that the experience worked well for you, and the webinars, you kind of miss them. It's okay, you're on your own. We've got counselling available for that. No, actually, you know, one of the things that you will be, because I'm quite sure, you know, it's all going to slot into place eventually, is one of our alumni. So, you know, in the future, there'll be other webinars for you to join for our alumni, and just as a great way of keeping in touch, you know, good way of keeping in touch. So interesting. Thank you for the feedback, and I'll pass it on to the rest of the team as well. Suppose that, you know, the last question would be, you know, if you were able to speak to someone who may have just fallen across Bluelight on YouTube, and they've seen me talking about something to do with recruitment, and they've got this link that they could potentially, you know, complete the form, do a discovery call. You know, and we know it's a big investment, but, you know, you get a lot of investment back from us, and the guarantee of a pass as well. But what advice would you give them if they were like sitting on the fence a little bit?
Ooh, I think I would say from my perspective, although obviously I've spent 20 years in the private sector and some of the public sector as well.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, the police interview process, as far as what I've seen in the world, is completely unique. Not to mention that there's a huge time delay. If you fail it, you know, you're stuck there for at least 6 months. So there's a lot of commitment there, and there's a lot of investment, and it's a real pain to fail it. I think what they're looking for is very unique. I think the way they ask questions is very unique. I think the concept of the CVF is very unique. It's easy to read things and go, well, obviously police officers have to have integrity, and obviously police officers have to do public service. But actually, what that means and how you craft that into a worthwhile answer, into that kind of 5 minutes. And I think I noticed we all did it on the course a lot. You think you've got an answer in your head, and you start off, and after about 30 seconds, you quickly find yourself meandering and running out of steam and thinking, yeah, and that's about all I have to say about that. So to my mind, I think if you're serious about wanting to pass, if you're serious about being a strong candidate, if you're serious about giving people answers where they sit down and they think, yeah, this guy is exactly the kind of person we're looking for, then to me, Bluelight's an absolute no-brainer. I don't think I would have been able to take myself through this process again. It's just too different to the world that I'm used to, and I just didn't know where to start. And being able to walk through examples and have someone brutally honest with you. I find that family and friends aren't always that helpful. It's very easy to go, oh, that's a great answer. You'll knock them dead with that. Whereas you guys are pretty good at just going, no, take that one back to the drawing board, work on it. But it's what you need.
Yeah.
You know, there's no point in getting to the interview off the back of pats on the back and high praise if you can't actually sort of deliver on the day.
Absolutely. Oh no, well, thank you for the kudos. It's very appreciated, that very much appreciated. Yeah.